Good morning. Going through the list of sponsors, I thought this was going to be a festival which would last 365 days. I haven't seen so many sponsors partnering one youth conference. Obviously, you all are doing something right. Entrepreneurship, to my mind, is a very tricky subject, especially in today's times when Anna Hazare turned entrepreneur last year. Ramdev is currently an entrepreneur as we speak. Most people in India's parliament are entrepreneurs. We've had one entrepreneur who's absconding from the law in our neighboring state, Haryana. So I don't know what entrepreneurship really means. I'm going to share my personal examples with you and talk about how I've seen life. It has made me very unpopular, which I don't care, because Winston Churchill said the only person you've got to be popular with is your wife. I'm straight and I'm a bachelor, so I really don't need anyone's popular polls. People say I'm obnoxious and arrogant. I am. I don't suffer fools. We have so many, and we have too many people being kind so they can keep suffering them. But let me share how I believe life should be and how my life was and is. I was born and raised in Calcutta, and I was taught three things: the value of learning, the value of honesty, and the value of being on time. Which is why I actually love what you guys did today. I don't accept speaking engagements in a hurry because they inevitably run late. I'm delighted you started 7 minutes earlier. What we were also taught in Calcutta was to say things as they are, to never lie, because lying always catches up with you. Now you might think what I'm telling you is a bit trite and not meant for college students, but we've all become ace bullshitters in some way or the other. We believe we can con our way through. You never can. You always get caught. And the ultimate prize in life is not about being successful, about having money, or about having too many girls by your arm. I think the most important lesson in life is to be able to sleep a good night's sleep without Valium or, smoking up or being on cocaine or heroin or whatever the hell y'all use. Not y'all, but you know who I'm referring to. I think what Calcutta also taught me was the virtues of scholarship. And there's a difference between knowledge and education. Education stops. Knowledge is unending. You stop education when you stop formally going to college or going to a skills institute. But I think what you continue is with your passion for reading. That, to my mind, is scholarship. Reading which is unfettered, reading which is borderless, reading which doesn't confine you into some silo or some tunnel. I would spend hours reading every day, and I still do. I would still say I go through about 4 to 5 books a week. Now that's an excessive amount of reading, but trust me, it's better than Googling the next hot chick after Veena Malik or something like that. It's far more relevant, it's far more interesting. The second thing when we were growing up in Calcutta was we were taught the art, and not the art as in taught, but we were told why it was important to be good at public speaking. I won my first motorcycle thanks to Delhi University, because there was a debate called the Mukherjee Memorial at St. Stephen's. And you know how Stephanians are, pretty stuck up until they're clobbered in a debate. And then everything else, falls by the wayside. So the Mukherjee Memorial, the Hindu College debate, these were debates that we took part in, and we enjoyed them because, again, there was something to do, it was cerebral, and it was about casting an opinion without actually hitting someone. Finally, I was also a great believer and still am. In fact, I'm doing a play once again on the 1st and 2nd of September, this time in Singapore. Theatre was an abiding passion. Now, I'm not telling you this because these are important things for each one of you to suddenly start doing, go out and debate and go out and do a play. But it's very important to do things that you're not expected to do. It's very important to follow a life that is not part of your curriculum. It's equally important to enjoy life, because all of us in our rush to get to the next milestone have stopped living through the contours of a joyous life. We've all become stressed out. We all want to grab the next milestone. We want to be competitive rather than honest. We want to do things at the cost of others rather than do things at the dint of our own strengths. And that, to my mind, is something that will weaken you as you go along. Whether it's good or bad, I don't care, because neither am I going to be your local guardian, or frankly do I care. But the reality is, this is how I'm seeing the youth change. So when people say we have a youth conclave, I think it's very important for you to understand that you can, like Rahul Gandhi, remain youthful for the rest of your life and be president of the Youth Congress, or you can actually decide that from youth you will get to adulthood at some stage in your life. I started working at a salary of 650 rupees in 1990. 650. When I came home and told my dad said, the chauffeur earns 4 times your salary. But again, the salary was not important. Today when you interview young people, the first thing they ask is, what is C2C? So I always tell them, I've heard B2B, I haven't heard C2C, which is cost to company. If you get your priorities wrong, you're going to be screwed for the rest of your life, because that's how you're going to judge the quality of your life by. And the quality of life is not judged by cost to company. It's by V2C, if at all you want to use smart alecky alphabets. It's the value you provide to a company. And I started work with Ogilvy. I went around every conceivable market that you can imagine. Today when people talk about Bihar, in those days it was undivided Bihar, not the province that I'm talking about, but where Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh were part of it. And when you went out, you saw the kind of poverty, but you also saw the kind of opportunity. It's another matter that our politicians frittered away that opportunity that Bihar has, and at that point in time seriously had, with all the natural resources that exist in Bihar. I then started, God was kind, work was hard, but I still must share this secret, which is pretty well known in corporate India. I never work after lunch, because I think that is meant for civilized people to either sleep or read or go for long walks. So I had a deal with Ogilvy as management trainee that I would work till 1 o'clock, but I wouldn't come back to the office after that. So the reason why I'm telling you these things are, myths exist about life. Life is not about how long you work. Life is about how smartly you work. Life is not about long hours. Life is about longer commitment. And I think that somehow we've kind of missed as far as life is concerned. To cut a long story short, I then joined ITC, was their youngest marketing manager, handling cigarette brands, launched Classic Miles, was told by the chairman at that time, a chap called Chug, that it won't work. Well, obviously he retired. The brand is now number 1 in that category. Then I joined Peregrine, which is an investment bank, because I wanted financial experience. And in 1996, along with Martin Sorrell, started Equus, which I gave up in 2006, which my brother now runs. I have nothing to do with it, because I was tired of meeting brand managers who didn't know head or tail of the businesses that they were responsible for. And in 2006, I was actually sitting at the Taj in Bombay, smoking a long cigar. In those days, the world was far more civilized. You could smoke indoors. Today, everyone gets upset. And I had retired, and Mr. Tata and Mr. Krishna Kumar were walking out, and they said, what the hell do you want to do? I said, I want to only consult, but with only chairman and CEOs, and that's what Counselage does. So we work across the world. It's a one-man company, and that's what we do. The reason why I do this is because it allows me to engage with some of the most formidable minds across the world. It also allows you to see a perspective that you and I often don't get to see. It also gives you the chance to spend more time doing the things that really interest you. Work must only be a passion. It can't be your lifetime. So I would have some suggestions to make, and we'll have a longer Q&A. My suggestions to you would be, think of the 3 things that you've always wanted to do and attempt even one of them. I finished my bucket list in 2008. So I'm living on extended joy time. Tomorrow, if I get run over by a stationary bus in Delhi, I have no regrets. Because the advantages are you've done everything that you wanted to do. You know, you've traveled the world, you've met interesting people. There's very little that you have funding your greed. And often what happens is we keep shifting the goalposts because of avarice, because we want more. There was a very interesting topic, a debating topic in IIM Calcutta, I think in night timeline. So if you keep asking for things, if you keep needing things, they don't necessarily happen. What does happen is it builds a huge amount of distrust of the system in people's minds, which again is not necessary. The values that I look forward to, I don't care whether you have them or you don't have them, it's not relevant for everyone to have those values. I think we live in very troubled times. We live in times where almost every day there's something driven by an agenda which we may not have set. You look at the way our politics is going, you see the way our civil society movements are headed, they're not headed in the right space. I was the first person on the 9th of March last year in a signed article on the edit page of the HT saying that Anna Hazare would do himself no service by having Team Anna. There are no statues of committees in any parks. It's always about individuals. And the biggest tragedy was to have something called Team Anna, when you could have easily called it Team India. It was important to co-opt every Indian into that movement, as every Indian was, in a manner of speaking, co-opted. About Ramdev last year I said, this man is seeking immunity. Immunity from all the cases that the government has against him. You've got to say what you genuinely believe. You will get into trouble. I've been sued by ITC for 800 crores for tweeting about its chairman. I have no issues with that. That'll be a case that'll be fought, and it'll be fought on merit. Do I have enough dirt on the ITC chairman? Of course. But will I release it? No. Because you don't play games that way. You play games in a fair way. Will I be screwed for 800 crores? I don't have 800 crores. So if I go to Tihar and start losing weight, I really don't care. The other thing that I genuinely believe is that we've started crawling when asked to walk as a society, as people in industry. I'm a great personal believer that Narendra Modi is good for development. He may not be good for equality in society. But we still have very left-wing liberals who believe that everything about Narendra Modi is bad, and yet they ignore the fact that today's rulers were the ones who presided over the Sikh riots in 1984. And no one wants to say anything because it is politically incorrect. So I would urge you to do the following, and I'd stop after that. I'd urge you to say what your heart really tells you to. Whether you're romancing a girl, if you don't like her aroma, if you think she has body odor, tell her. She'll take care. I mean, the same goes for women. If you think your man is a cad, tell him. Be honest, because you will spend far too much of time trying to manage the lies or the web of deceit that you've erected. The second is, read until you die. We will never know enough about anything. We never will. That is why we are different from the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom is unilateral, it's linear. We've got too many exciting things happening in our lives. I've always said, science is not about exploration of other things. It is about the reinvention of man's mind. You're reconfiguring your mind to assimilate, to absorb, to sensitize yourself against various issues. Number 3, you must revel in the arts. See plays, smell the flowers, go for long walks. If you want to be a great marketing guy, spend hours observing people. Not just the pretty people, but observing people, observing their behavior. When was the last time you talked to your domestic help and actually asked them about problems in the villages? They will tell you about a real India more than any of these other jokers who pretend to be either economists or television anchors. Be extremely respectful of elders. I'm a bachelor, I'm delighted I live with my parents. I mean, my parents lived in Cal, I moved them to Delhi, I'm delighted. Now it's not fashionable, but we are not birds that we eject out of the nests that our parents have created. There is a lot of wisdom, sagacity that you can get by talking to your parents. It's only your parents and your dog which will give you unconditional love. Everyone else will either want a Louis Vuitton or a Birkin or whatever the hell these bags are. You know, I'm only referring to them, but it's true for men as well. But respect them with passion, with a certain sense of genuineness, and learn from them. Don't have more than 5 friends. You can't. Once again, Churchill said, if you have 5 friends that you can count on your 5 fingers, it's a life well lived. Learn how to distinguish and differentiate between friends and acquaintances. Always be apolitical as far as you can. When I say apolitical, I'm not saying don't join a political movement. Of course, go ahead and kill yourself if you want to. But remember, in this country, you will never have an independent opinion if you join any political party. Because there is feudalism no matter where you go. Today, an Advani at 80 doesn't want to let go. They never do. I was asked in London last week at a speech, what do you think about India's democracy? And Mani Shankar Iyer was debating with me, so I said, look at this man. He lost the elections, he's now in Parliament as a nominated member. We're the only country which predicts future prime ministers, and we're supposed to be a democracy. So that's the reality of our politics. Be apolitical, but have a finite ideology. And my final point to you is, give, give, give until it hurts. Mother Teresa said this outstandingly in 1980 when she was addressing the United Nations. It's very important for us to share. It's important to look after people who are lesser privileged. They're not lesser privileged because they don't have the skills to be privileged. They're lesser privileged because they've been denied the opportunities to have those privileges. There is nothing more distasteful, disgusting, and disgraceful for India to deny the opportunity of education, of health to its children. There is nothing more derogatory, and it's a bloody farce that we worship all these goddesses when we abuse our women. I've said on Twitter yesterday that you must start executing molesters and rapists. But you know, we will pretend to be this fine democracy which has this robust judiciary, which must tolerate the kasabs and the jundals and now the kandas, and before that how many thousands of others. You can't have a country which disabuses, which abuses its women and be throbbing. I was addressing the National Literacy Mission the other day and I said, my marketing logic tells me you educate a man, you educate one person. You educate a woman, you educate 4. Because she will make sure that her entire family imbibes the values of robust education. So that's all I have to say. Have a great life, smile more. Don't be stressed, you are going to die in the long run. So why do you want to rush towards, hell or heaven? I mean, hell's going to be more fun. In heaven you might, bump into Khrushchev or Yuri Gagarin or someone like that. Smile more, learn more, talk more, converse, dialogue more. Today the youth, you meet them, their only conversation was her. There's more to life than things being up or down. So that's all I have to say. I'm no Ramdev or Arvind Kejriwal who's going to tell you how to change the life of India and how to change yourself. No one gives a shit. Gallup in 1999 ran a poll across the world and they said people care for 3 things in this order. Number 1 for themselves, number 2 for the family, number 3 for the country. So that's not going to change in a hurry. I believe as someone who's risen from the ranks that it's an outstanding country we live in. It's a country which respects talent, which respects merit,